guys, this is Zarum, and welcome a milestone of CA. Now, I'm kind of just doing this by the seat of my pants, so I'll try and remember everything, but I do want to show you what I have so far. And this being here and visible is just for testing purposes, as are a lot of other things that you will see. So bear in mind as I show you everything here, just know that some things might stay like they are, and other things are subject to change. Again, this is a very in-dev preview here, so bear that in mind. And I hope it doesn't happen, but we may come across a few bugs, and hopefully those will be fixed. Anyways, so you'll notice when you go into your inventory now, or first we can take a look at the engrams. If I look at CA, anything CA, the only thing that you'll see in here is CA reload. Now, some people have requested to bring back the mirror structure because they liked it, and while I may do so, it is entirely unnecessary for the mod now. You no longer have to make a structure. So you can go ahead and learn CA reload, and that's simply for if something goes wrong, there's a redundancy here where you can craft CA reload with just one fiber. Now, like I said, as you can see, there is a button here, a CA button. So let's click it. And now that we are in the CA menu, you see we have our character preview here, and this is done with my own code, so there's a couple different things you can do. So this is left click, rotating, right click, which is translating, and then scroll wheel, which is zoom in and out. Holding control also allows you finer movement, both on rotation, translation, and zooming. So that's pretty. I'm gonna take a sip of water real quick. Additionally, something else that I did with my preview that's different is I allow you to change animations. So if you're making some really fine adjustments and you need them to be still, you can keep them still. If not, you can get them in this little idle state here. You can test out what they'll look like when they're walking, jogging, running, jumping, speaking, and crazy movements like dancing. I put that in just so that you can test out what it looks like when you're moving around very quickly or doing quick movements, because it will be fun to simulate the ears. For instance, see, I made these ears nice and floppy, so they kind of flippy flopping around. So anyways, back to this. So, additionally, there is a day and night. So you can put night mode to see what it looks like for your, if you have any glowing bits, then this is where you'll see that. You'll be able to kind of simulate that without having to leave the menu. Additionally, you will see there is this thing here. This is very simply just a measuring pole. Now, I have not fully implemented player scale yet, where you can straight up change the entire scale of your character. You're still able to kind of do that with the bones, muscles, and identity menu, but I want to add my own scaler on top of that so that you can have insanely large or insanely small critters or characters, just like on CE. And in saying so, this might need to be a little bit larger. But there it is. And it's very, very useful. So I am going to leave that there as we continue looking at the parts. So now the parts are separated. I guess this would be a good time for me to tell you how CA will work. CA is going to be separated into a core mod and then subsidiary mods. The core mod is simply going to be called CA Core, and then anyone, including myself or anyone who cares to, can make their own add-on mods. I will be releasing the add-on mod code for anyone who wants it, with of course a few examples. Anything in my base add-on will be released with that code so that they can look at how I did things and do them that way as well. That way, everyone isn't relying on me as the sole person who can make parts or different buffs and stuff like that. So that is a large part as to why this has taken a bit longer, is figuring all of that out, as well as a lot of other nice features that you will see later. So let's get into parts. Modders can make their own part sections here. So it can be like head, arms, particle effects, it could be gross bugs, or it could be, I don't like these very much. I mean, the modders could put whatever they want here, and put different parts in those sections. But I would recommend, if you are modding, to take a look at the largely used sections like head, chest, arms, and try and keep within those, because if you name it the exact same, it will go in the exact same slot. Additionally, there's also lots more sorting options. There is a filter here, so you can filter by used, so it's showing used and unused. So if I unclick showing unused, it hides everything because I don't have anything shown or using right now. Anyways, there's also functional and non-functional. If I hide non-functional, everything hides because I don't have anything functional right now. And then you can actually filter by add-ons. So you'll see all that I have right now is Cosplay Ascended Basics. So lots of filtering options to find the parts that you need. Additionally, you will notice that just about anything that I hover over has a custom tooltip to let you know a little bit more about something that may not be surface level information. Like this, the words that are here is the part that you have hovered, while the words here are the parts that you have selected. You can also search, so I can be like wolf, and there it is. So let's go ahead and enable the wolf. Did you see that? That little tiny thing? That is the new scaling system. Because now you see, on the location area, we have different parts. We can scale the jaw, head, neck, and the ears all individually, which is something you couldn't do before. So let's say we want a crazy jaw. We can do that. Give him a nice wide jaw. We rotate it up a little bit. We push it back a little bit. Rotate it a little up more. There we go. So now let's test out what it looks like talking. That looks great. So you're able to do so much more, and it works a lot more like you would expect. I spent a lot of time getting that code right. For instance, if I go to the head, and if I move it up like this. Like, this is freaky. But you can do it, and it works as you would expect it to work. It's definitely strange, but it works. So, yeah, creativity to the max, definitely. Additionally, let's say I don't like that jaw anymore. We go back to the jaw. What does this button do? This is reset all transforms. So if I hold it down, and there we go. That's what it looks like, back to normal. This little button over here, what is this? It is slider speed. So if you're trying to get very fine movements and you're like, oh, that's too crazy. It's like, that's a little better, but I want it really fine. And then you can move really, really, really fine. I'm having to drag my mouse across my desk doing this one. So that's very nice for getting that fine tuning if you want to fine tune it without having to type in the number over and over and over and over and over, because that's just annoying and no one wants to do that. Now let's move on to coloring. I spent a lot of time making this custom color thing here, heavily based off of what you see within Unreal Engine. And, well, I think it works pretty well. So first of all, you do have a color wheel, and it works. Works very quickly. It's very nice. And you get the final color here, and you can't get every color on the color wheel by just using the color wheel, so that's why I have RGB if you want that. There's HSV, which is hue, saturation, and vibrance or brightness. Sometimes it's HSB, but B is already here because blue, so I went with V. So with that I can get like a deep like crimson red, or like a black, anything like that. And let's say I work really, really hard on this deep crimson red, and I don't want to have to copy it exactly. There's two different ways to copy this color to a different region. You can hit this button, which is the copy color button, and it will copy it to a clipboard in the mod, and then paste. This is more for console users who do not have the option to just go to the hex, Control AC, and then Control AV. That's what I would do, but if you want, you can just hit copy like that and paste like so. There we go. That's the region that I wanted to. And oh no, I did not want his eyes to be that color. Whatever will I do? But there's two of them. Well, let's see. Reset current color. Oh, very nice. So that's fixed. But I've decided I don't like the red at all. I liked it how it was before. So let's reset all colors. And there we go. Very highly customizable. And there are up to just the default arc, I think 6 regions. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But on here I have them numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But anyways, so that's the part thing, and you're just able to move them around. I don't have these defaults configured correctly. You're able to move them around a lot better, and the modders are able to do a lot more because, well, simply put, each individual part has what I call part pieces. So you could have like a part that just says like fish person preset or whatever, and it could have a couple things like fins between the fingers or like little fins behind here and stuff like that, and the player And they're like different parts tied to different parts of the body. And the player would be able to go in here to the bones and just scale them however they want. And that is shown in part actually on these, which are one mesh, but I weight painted them so that you can scale each of these individually. So it's a whole other layer of customization that you can allow your players to have. Oh, whoops. There we go. Cool. Of course, I don't really like that. So yeah, I just reset all transforms. So apart from that, I wanted to tell the modders that I do, it will also support the 2 different particle effect types, both Legacy and Niagara. So this is a Niagara particle effect, and this is a Legacy particle effect. And as you can see, they are both working just fine. And the coloring works on them too. You just have to do it specifically, but there will be tutorials whenever this whole thing releases. So you needn't mind. Now, before we go much further, take a look at the player settings. Oh, my bad. I don't want to forget my customizations. So let me go ahead and save. I want to save this to a new template, and I'll call it Wolfman. The template creator is Zarum, and description. Wolf guy with, wow, I can't type, with a there we go. Wolf guy with spikes on his arms. Save new template. There we go. So now that that's saved, we can go look at player settings. So, wow, look at that. You can move it to different spots. That's because no one could agree on it, so I just went ahead and implemented all the different spots that I felt like made sense. So, right up there, kind of in that corner, in the other corner, in the corner of the character preview, other corner, and the other corner of the character preview. So there's plenty of choices here on where you want to do it. There is also a tooltip delay here, and that tooltip is those things that pop up. So say I want it to take like 3 seconds. I change it to 3 seconds, and look how long I have to hover my mouse. It defaults to 0.4, and that's what these buttons are for. And menu button color, so you can customize the color of the menu button. So say you want it high vis, you can make it like this orange, and if I close, you'll see it's orange now. So, now let's look at language. So by default, you will be on system language, but I have built in and self-translated these languages. English, Chinese, remember that specific one. Give me just a moment and I can get the list here of what they all are. I wouldn't want to say the wrong thing. Okay, so it is English, Simplified Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, German, Japanese, French, Polish, and Turkish. So that's all the different languages you can put it as, and it just changes immediately. So, yeah, and fair warning, although I started doing this with some actual people that spoke those languages, I found that it sort of hindered my development process quite a bit. So I started using Google Translate. As such, they're probably not perfect, the translations, but until there is something that just straight up doesn't make sense to that language and they contact me, of course I will change it. But until then, I will just do this way because it's a lot faster and it doesn't impede my process nearly as much. Or my flow, I guess you could say. Anyways, so there's other options here. Open inventory on close. So you know how you have to get to this from your inventory? Some people might like to reopen it on close. So you can do that. You can have it automatically open it for you. So you don't have to hit the inventory button. I personally don't like that. And there is a gender change, are you sure, box that comes up if you try and load a template. And I'll show that later. If you try and load a template or change your gender or whatever have you, this just skips that dialogue. Because it might be annoying to some people every time they go and try and change a template. It's like, are you sure? Blah, blah, blah. It's just because it does some things like destroying your character but preserving your items, and it's a lot of weird stuff on the back end. But the transition is a pretty smooth one, at least as smooth as I could get it. Anyways, enable part action. So this is what you do to enable a part. I have it on hold, which is, you know, like that. But let's say, yeah, I want to forget change. Let's say I want to double click to enable. Now it's double click. I can no longer hold. I have to double click. But I can't double click to disable because I didn't set it to that. But I can if I really want to. I don't like that, so I put it back to hold. Instant color reset. You know how you have to hold it down? Well, turn that on and it's instant. So no holding down. Same for all these. Bone indicator. So you saw what pulse is. This is what constant is. You saw how it goes small, but it never actually goes away. That's constant. And so it just kind of stays there. So you can kind of see the point of rotation, or in other words, the origin point of that bone. See, because it rotates off that. So anyways, so that's all player settings, and they all change instantly. There is no need to save. You just change, and that's that. I'm gonna go back to pulse, although I do kind of like constant, but I'll go back to pulse. And let's move on to body and hair. You will see that this looks a little sparse right now, and that's because it is. I have yet to implement all of the body options as well. A very big one took up a lot of my time, and I wasn't entirely sure if it was going to be possible. It took me a few weeks to figure out, but I did finally get it. And that part of the body customization was bones, muscles, and identity, but we'll get to that in a moment. So, hair, right? You can add hair now, right from the menu. Go through different variants, which is mainly just the different lengths. And then you can move the location of the hair. And this, much like the actual thing here, works a lot better than it did on CE. It stays where you think it would stay, and so forth, which is, it is tied to the head bone. It is not tied to the hips or anything like that like it was on CE. I'm gonna go ahead and undo that, and well, you can look at the different beards, and there's eyebrows and all kinds of stuff. But let's say if you look really closely, and I'm actually going to get him to stand still. You look really closely, you can see that there are eyebrows right there. That's gross. So hide, or sorry, not eyebrows, eyelashes. So you can hide eyelashes if you have on like a dog head or something. And this is eventually where different skins will be. I have not made example skins yet, but I will. And this is also where you are able to change your skin colors. Right now this is currently not working, so just ignore that. But this is where you're gonna be able to change your skin colors. Yeah, as you can see, it's a little buggy. But I have not worked on this menu a whole lot. With my color wheel is the point that I'm getting to. But then, if we go to Bones, Muscles, and Identity, if you've played a lot of Ark, this might look familiar to you. And it is that way for a reason. So first, let's go to the body presets. It works exactly like you think it would. And this is where that scale comes in use. Because before, the camera would auto scale to like the size of whatever. Mine doesn't do that. Additionally, since I have this, you can really tell the difference between these two. Even though their body shapes are similar, their sizes are not. Which is something that I never could really tell the difference of on these two when I was customizing in the Ark menu. Anyways, this is Skin Color Human Skin Palette. So this is the original palette that you get when you're like making your character in Ark. So you can set the skin color here, but I also wanted to include this here. Because I have in the past had some people complain that they found it difficult to get a nice, realistic human skin color. So now you can get that with this palette. So you set the color here. So long as you don't touch this here, or touch this here, then it'll stay like that. But again, I will have these two communicating. I just don't have that done yet. So, like I'll have a thing where when you click on this, when you have it set on the other thing, it'll be like, are you sure? You know, you have it set at a different color, blah, blah, blah. But anyways. So, everything else in here I'm not going to showcase because it works exactly like you think it would. You know, overall height changes the overall height. It works just like in the creation menu. All of these, the skin colors, eye colors and musculature and all kinds of stuff, works all like you think it would. So let's get into voice. This is done a bit differently because I allow all options on all players, and eventually I will allow modders to add more voices. So I may have to make my own custom drop-down menu here. I want to be able to support several mods that have several voices. But I'll figure that out. Anyways, works just like in the menu. Another thing is name. You can change your name here. So let's say I want to change my name to Zarum. Go Zarum, because that's my name. If I hit save, goes out of the menu, you will see, if I open my inventory, that my name is Zarum. Very, very nice, right? So now let's go back. Another thing you can do is change genders. This is something that is not available in vanilla game once you have created a character, but now you can. So if I hit this button and I hit save, it says this template uses a different gender than your current one. Would you like to continue? This is what happens if you hit yes. It gives you an option on how you want to do it, and then of course if you hit don't save, nothing happens. And there we go. Now we're a female. I did not show it off, but it works with inventory, so let's, or actually, let me do, there we go. So I have armor on, I got stuff slotted in. Let's see what happens. And there we go. I still have the same armors on. I have everything slotted exactly where it was. So it's perfect. And the items aren't actually destroyed. If you want to know a little bit behind the scenes, all of the items are unequipped from your hotbar and your body, and then dropped in a bag like this that is turned invisible. As in, other players are not able to interact with it. And then your character is forcibly respawned and put in the same location, and then your items are given back to you and re-equipped. So your items are not destroyed. And if something were to happen, you could get some kind of mod that could pull from the inventory and be able to do so to get your items back. But I don't think anything can go wrong. I made lots of fail-safes. For instance, if the items fail to go to a player's inventory in time, the inventory box will become accessible and visible. So, you know, you can respawn at a bed, do whatever you need to do to get your stuff back. But yeah, let's continue. So armor, as you can see, is completely empty right now, but what that will be in the future is basically parts are now separate from what I am going to call armor, which are going to be armor replacements. So people will be able to make lots of armor replacements that specifically replace armor. So what that means is, like, let's say someone makes like a pirate hat, right? And that is an armor replacement for a helmet. If you are wearing a helmet, it will be replaced with a pirate hat. But if you take it off, the pirate hat will come off. That allows you to basically quickly swap customizations without having to leave the menu. Of course, I will make other methods to quickly swap between, you know, customizations and all kinds of stuff, but this one is just, you know, you can have cosmetic armor. Basically, think transmog, but better than Arc system. You don't have to transmog each individual piece. It just does it. It just listens to your settings. Now, templates. So, you will see that this is the template menu, and we have 3 different templates: male, female, and wolfman. You will notice that the active template right here is of course the template that is active. You can also tell that it's active by the little check mark that is right here. Activate template. Of course, if you click that, it does nothing because it is already active. Um, Another cool thing you can do here is, because your templates are now saved locally on files, they can be loaded onto different servers because they're saved on your client. So you can now transfer templates to different servers, and there's several different ways you can actually go about doing that. So the easiest way to look at how we would do that is to hit load external template, and we're just gonna kind of go down. So firstly, we have load from GitHub gist. All you do is you paste a GitHub gist ID or URL in here, and the gist data will be the text that you can copy from your active template. So if I hit this is get template as text, and so you would copy this, make a GitHub gist, and then people could paste the link into there and load a template, right? There's another way. You can physically place the file in this exact location and then type the name exactly. So it could be like Wolf Girl, and then you load, and of course could not find file because I didn't a file called Wolf Girl. Now the last option that you can do is load from clipboard, which, remember that text before? You can just paste that in here and it'll load it. So let's say copy this, paste, attempt to load. Oh, this one. There we go. Wolfman 2. And it named it 2 automatically because it saw that I already had a wolf. So now we're gonna delete that. Additionally, you can delete it from here if you want to permanently delete Wolfman, and it will just reassign you the next applicable template. Now, there's other things you can do. They all have this edit button. So let's say I want to call it Wolf Spiky Boy. Doramumum. You can do that. Save the template, boom. Now it's Wolf Spiky Boy. So you can change the name of all that stuff. These little symbols here just show if it is a male or female base model. Just because if you change from one to the other, like say if I try to load this, it'll be like, this template uses a different gender than your current one, would you like to continue? We're not gonna do that right now, but we could. And last but not least, what could this be? Hover over it, make template item. Again, do this with anything. If you don't know what it is, hover over it. This is create empty template. I forgot to show that off, but it's not really, too complicated. It just makes an empty template. So, yeah. Now, let's see. It auto-selected that one, so I want to do this. That's a good way for me to show this off, too. By clicking the name of other templates, you can preview them without loading them. So I'm just previewing these different ones, but currently I'm male. I have basically no customizations on this one. So if I look at this one, let's load this one. And it's loaded. So let's continue on to, the item. So make template item. And as you can see, it's pretty fast. Which is a bit surprising, seeing as all the stuff I'm doing in the background that I have hidden behind a giant loading logo. But, yeah, so anyways, when you make a template item, it spawns in your inventory, and I'm going to get rid of everything else because I don't like it. Or actually, no, I'm not. Oh, no. Wait. Okay, so hover over a regular item. This is kind of what you see. However, if you hover over a template, this is what you... Oop, okay, well that's a bug. Oh, because it's reading... Yeah, okay, that is a bug. I will fix that later. But you see this, which is, I think, pretty cool. It has like a custom banner at the top that's all shiny and golden. So it's like wolf, spiky boy, male, female, another wolf, spiky boy. And when you throw it on the ground, I'm gonna do it again over here so that it's not obscured. You'll see it has a custom model. You can tell what a template is and what it's. You cannot, however, preview the template from this particular preview because if I tried to overwrite it and it crashed the game. So I figured stability is better than previewing it like that, and you can just pick it up to preview. So anyways, let's say I want a copy of Wolf Spiky Boy. Go. Added new template, Wolf Spiky Boy 2. And automatically opens up to the templates menu, which is where we left off. I don't want that one though. So when you hit that, just as you saw, it does not, and I'll show you again. It does not automatically equip it. And that is for a number of reasons. But since it brings you here, all you have to do is hit on the item and hit the check on this if you really want to load it. I do not, so I will be deleting it. So now let's go to player settings. I'm pretty sure we went over everything here, so I am going to ignore that and move along. So the admin settings button here only is available, obviously, to admins. So I think non-admins will see the button, but they won't be able to click it. If they try, it'll say you're not an admin. Anyways, so you can change how crazy people can make their things. You can change the max part location offset, max part scale, min part scale. You can disallow things like changing names, changing template genders, allow opposite template use. So changing template genders is like changing the gender of a template within the menu. So let me just do one thing at a time, right? Allow changing names. I disable that. You will see I can no longer change my name here. There is no option to. You will also notice that it updated live. This actually sends out to the server a request that then reaches out to every single client and updates their menus live. Additionally, because of this admin settings menu, there is no longer any INI for this mod. It is all in-game. However, if you want to share your particular admin settings between different servers, this is all saved on a physical file on the server. So you can just copy it from like one to another. It's pretty simple. Anyways, so allow changing template genders. So you see I've disallowed that, and if I go to here, you'll see I can no longer change the gender. Now, something I still can do is go and load these different templates that have pre-existing different genders. However, that can be disallowed if you want someone to only be the gender that they spawned in with. You can disable both of these. In doing so, you will notice that if I go back to here, it's grayed out. I can't load it. And trust me, I have a lot of preventative measures because since I know how the mod works, I know how it can be broken too. And there's no way around that prevention thing. At least not without severely hacking the game. Sorry, water. The next thing is allow changing voice. So, if you toggle that off, very simply it removes the ability to change your voice. But by default, I believe all of these are. Additionally, I have allowed add-on makers to make add-on admin settings. So let's say, because they will be able to make their own buffs that are attached to their own parts, right? So let's say they want to edit some values. So like someone makes a boar thing, like a boar back, and that boar back, like when you're close to other players, it gives you a buff. They could put in here settings for like settings for, let's see, here's a good example, like how many players need to be nearby in order for the buff to be active. And you could be like 10, or you could be like 1, and then it would just always be active. You could also do like, and the buff is like healing speed, so you can control the healing speed. You can be like, does it heal and give a melee thing? Yes, so you can do, there's 3 different types here, as you can see, much like I. It is float, boolean, and string value. So you could even do like custom messages. I don't know. Who knows? I just want to allow possibilities. And of course you can make your own groups and all kinds of stuff. Like all of this is done in the add-on mod, and this just reads the add-on mod, pulls the data, and allows you to change it from here. But yeah, all of that is working. You have unsaved settings, forget your change. No. I'd like to save my settings, thank you. Apart from that, I think that's most of what I have for you guys. Obviously there's still a lot of development that needs to go into this. But one thing I do want to note is that when I release this mod, it's not going to have like 500 parts like CE did. Even if I do decide to end up slowly adding parts over time, that's also gonna be really up to the other modders out there. You know? And that's what I think is so beautiful about CA, is once I finish this, it's not only up to me to continue the ingenuity behind it. People could create whatever they want. They could even commission or get commissions to make different parts or different buffs that use this system or, you know, whatever. So it's like, if they don't have a lot of specialty in doing this kind of code, they don't need to worry about it. They can just use my system. Because I want to make something that I can set up and then walk away from. Because I will do that one day. But yeah. I did it. This menu. Probably the hardest achievement to get, but see, I load that. I'm huge now. It actually works, and it is tied to the template. I have overridden arcs system. Additionally, I think I also want to mention a couple things. Well, one in particular, that is starting out, right? So let's do something dangerous. Here we have, let's see, cosplay ascended. You see there's some saved templates. If I go to save templates, these are all my saved templates, right? Let's delete all of them. So now that all the templates are deleted, you would expect something weird to happen to the main character. So basically what this simulates is what happens the very first time you load CA. As you can see, my character is unchanged. So unchanged from what I spawned in as. So if I go to like, cheat. There we go. So this is more like spawning in for the first time. Blah, 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 blah. I spent so long customizing this character and I love him and I don't want to lose the body, blah, blah, blah. You won't. Even when you load up my mod. So this is just normal. I have not touched anything here. I don't know why he's posed like that. But if we open it up, see, there's our guy. It successfully found all of the data and preserved every last inch of it. I think the only thing that it did not preserve, because I haven't worked on it yet that much, is the hair. But everything else is preserved. The skin color, the body composition, all the different presets on these different things, the eye color, like, it saved everything. So loading up my mod, you will no longer lose any customization that you did through Arc System because I have reverse engineered it. Kind of. I've hacked into it is a more accurate description of what I have done. So yeah, there's lots of different measures like that to ensure that this just works and doesn't cause any stress or hassle or whatever have you. And if God forbid something happens to like one of your worlds and your world's corrupt or whatever, you won't lose any customizations because they're all saved on files that are completely separate to your worlds. That also means if you make a customization on one world, you can just bring it to another. I think I mentioned this before, but your customizations are saved locally. So that means you can bring your client-made customizations to different servers or to just different maps on your client. You no longer have to like make the same thing over and over on different worlds or whatever. Like now you can just travel the arcs with your one template and you don't have to remake it every time you go to a new map. Because that's annoying. So apart from that, I wanted to thank you guys who have stuck around for this long. This is an hour-long video. And for those that have stuck around this long, I wanted to show you the Easter eggs. Because sometimes I just get a wild hair and decide to make an Easter egg. I don't remember if there are more than the two that I am currently thinking of, but I can specifically remember two. So I will show you those now. First things first, we open this up and we go to player settings. For the menu button color, if you click on the words, even though you see the mouse doesn't do anything, if you click on the words 10 times really fast, it does that gay sound, and you see you get this like hue sliding thing, or like RGB, people call it, colors, and it actually changes your thing here. You see it's actually changing colors there. So that's pretty cool. Another thing that I'm actually going to pause my music for is a French meme that I fell in love with, because I think he is adorable. So if in the parts, if you look up Steve. So, yeah, that's the Poisson Steve Easter egg. So yeah, very fun, and I'm sure there are other Easter eggs somewhere, like maybe one or two others, or at least there will be in the future. Those are the only two I can remember off the top of my head. But yeah, so I think that's all. Thank you guys so much for sticking around this long, and for waiting for me to get my life in order. You have no idea how much that means to me. Honestly, I don't feel like I deserve how kind you guys have been. And patient. I feel like most people, most communities would just look at the time I have wasted and see what I've been through and been like, well, you made a promise, you know, and you failed, so. But no, you guys were so kind, and it means a lot to me. I truly am happy to be working on this again. Every day I look forward to the next bit of progress that I can make, especially now that I'm done with that thing that I wasn't even sure was possible. The body customization overrides, vanilla body customization overrides. I feel like I can finally start working on other things that aren't harder. They're just kind of work, a lot of systems that need setting up. I seriously love you guys, and just stay tuned. There will be lots of progress to come. If you somehow are seeing this and don't know about my Discord, you can join my Discord. I'm sure there will be a link in the description. And yeah, there is a CA updates channel there where you can sort of follow my updates, which I try to do daily, but I also do take weeks off. I do not dev on the weekends. And since I am working a job and in school and lots of other things, there will be some days where there's just not anything done because I have to work on other things that have higher priorities. But I will say that it will be continuously worked on until it is finished, and I feel closer to finishing now than ever, even though there's still a lot more to do. It's getting there. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey, and I guess I'll see you next time. Adios.